If you think back 20, 30 years, when the overnight successes, the people now with some gray hair that are kind of running things, it's much easier now to get and share information than it ever was before. So lean into it.
Yeah, I think I learned, over time too, like, you know what? I can tell people I'm doing because no one's nutty enough to do it. Okay. They're not going to put in the work, the time. Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. I've got Chris Halberg in the virtual house. And Chris, it's a tradition. No one knows Chris better than Chris. So Chris, give us that backstory, bring us up to speed, and we'll tear into the conversation.
Well, thanks for having me on your platform, Richard. Appreciate it. Good to be here. I'm Chris Halberg, aka the Business Sergeant. That's my personal branding, and it allows me to show up and say what everyone's thinking. And you don't hire me to get a Sunday school teacher to tiptoe around your tulips. You hire the business sergeant to come in here and find out what's going on. Let's highlight the good, let's eradicate the bad, and let's have a good time doing it. So lots of new people, lots of new ideas. But at the end of the day, we all serve at the pleasure of the company. And no one person is bigger than the rest of us. So I bring that military team building ethos or mindset into the business world. And it turns out, even if you're not in the life or death business, but you're surrounded by people who really want to be there and think it's important, your quality of life for a third of your life will improve, and you'll make more money and have more satisfaction. So that's what I do, is I help leadership teams go from good to great. And I do an online course. I coach leadership teams in the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS. I've been a expert EOS implementer for pushing almost 12 years now, coming up this winter. So I spend most of my time with teams, and that's what I'm up to.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm in a similar space, obviously, but I love getting the insight of others who are out doing it. Right? There's one thing I learned, and it took me a while to figure this out. It was kind of two stages. First 20 years in business, I didn't know how to ask for help. Okay. So, being a jarhead, I'm a little thick. So I kind of, I did it, but it took twice as long as twice as hard. Right. And then I learned to ask for help. And then secondly, from there, it's really like listening to others. You know what I mean? Like finding those nuggets, finding that extra, what are other people doing without feeling, not that I ever really felt threatened, but I got my secret thing. You got your secret thing. We're going to keep them a secret. Yeah, that's stupid. Okay. Just share what you do. I share what I'm doing. I take one or two things you got. I think the other things are silly maybe, but I work on those two good things. We do that both back and forth. And it's a great way for everybody kind of do that. Rising tide lifts all boats. Right. So I'm a big fan of learning from others who are out there making things happen.
Yeah, right on. That's the way. I mean, the other observation is you learn more when you're losing than when you're winning. It's hard to tell someone with 7 figures in their bank account that what they're doing isn't right. But it's pretty easy to be humble after you've been humbled, after whatever insert your situation, calamity here. That's usually when we're a little bit more open to receive these things. So even if we're competitive, like what you're just talking about, like two fishermen meet each other at the bar. Hey, where are they biting? Oh yeah, you're not telling them where they're actually biting. You're telling them where they used to be biting. And if there's a lot of fish in the ocean, in the lake you're in, we don't need to behave that way. So I'm going to give you all my good fishing spots. Ask away. I feel the same way you do. This is what makes the group so much stronger than any one individual. Sharpen the spear, and I think about 300 and that whole wonderful movie and, true story, right? 300 was 10,000 was the odds.
Well, no, it was closer to 1 million, but they're only killing 10,000 people a day.
Oh, okay.
They only
Yeah.
had that
So
area, right? They got that. There's 300 of them, but they were stacking, I mean, 10,000 in a
yeah,
day.
I mean, that's a choke point or a fatal funnel, right? They had the
Yep.
geography. Anybody knows about military planning. You want to funnel the enemy into a place they can't retreat from, and you have the high ground. And
Right.
I think that was a big part of it. So that's like strategy. But back to your point, yeah, I think if you've got something great to say, sharing it with a bunch of people is the best way to help you become successful. Thinking that someone is going to steal my idea or I'm not going to help anyone out because it's a zero-sum game. If they win, by de facto, I have to lose, and that is definitely a way one thinks. Usually earlier in life, usually that might be a household belief. Many times, like we're all
Right.
products of our environment. But after you learn a few times in the business world, it can be very humbling. And then you realize, wow, would have been nice if I had a mentor. Would have been nice if I had a peer group. Would have been nice if I had a great podcast to listen to. And these are all kind of new things, right? If you think
Right.
back 20, 30 years, when the overnight successes, the people now with some gray hair that are kind of running things, it's much easier now to get and share information than it ever was before. So lean into it.
Yeah, I think I learned, over time too, like, you know what? I can tell people I'm doing because no one's nutty enough to do it. Okay. They're not going to put in the work, the time. And also, I learned from my mentor too. He had a great saying. He goes, listen, I create faster than anyone can copy.
I love
Okay.
that.
He's just out front. What's next? I'm doing the next thing. I'm doing big things. That's the other thing too. Like, don't do small things and you won't have to worry. Do big things. People are afraid of big things because it's work. 'Cause there's a
Well,
lot of
it's
details to it.
scary.
Yeah.
It's risky. It's all of those things, but the greater the risk, greater the reward. Well, yes and no, not always. The idea is to understand that there's going to be some risk if there's any reward worth having. That's a true statement. Being able to mitigate your risk with the right systems, the right strategies, the right people in the right seats, like that is what de-risks an entrepreneur is not doing things in an open, exposed environment, but in a controlled, we know what we're doing, follow this process, look at the data and adjust fire as we go. That's a strategy that'll pay big dividends in the long run.
Yeah, and I think, to add to that same philosophy, you're exactly right, is seek wise counsel. Like you got to have your board of advisors, whoever that is. People respect, people maybe are where you want to be or they're on the same path, and you got to learn to embrace that. Bring those people into the circle because man, it does what I call time compression. It saves you a year, 5 years, 10 years of headaches, costly mistakes, bad decisions, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what we do as coaches, right? We're trying to shorten that losing portion because we're all going to lose, we're all going to fail a bit, and that's okay. I mean, hey, I don't mind failing. I wrote a best-selling book about it. Who's better than me? Because I fail big. I don't fail little. I fail big. So when I do stuff, it's big. But at the same time, like you want to embrace that and bring those people in because for a lot of my clients now, they strictly call me to consult for an hour. That's what we do. And hey, I'm thinking about this. We're doing this, and I can be that unemotional. I'm not emotionally attached to their outcomes, right? I'm just, well, have you thought about this and kick it around and give them the ideas. And in an hour, we iron stuff out. We're like, they have a solid plan going forward. It's a well invested hour whoever your advisors are, right? You spend that time, it's amazing how quickly you'll move to achieve those outcomes that you're looking to do.
Absolutely. There are breadcrumbs on the trail. No reason to grab a machete and cut a new path when you know people that know the way.
Yeah, it took a while for me to get that. I thought I'm an original dude, man. I'm an innovator. I'm a creative. I do all this wilds, and yeah, it's all been done before. But
That's
no,
all part of the process, my friend. Like, everyone gets there. Some get there a little sooner, some there get a little later. The fact that you got there is to be celebrated.
right.
And the perspective you're sharing now might help some people speed that up. So, I mean, that's exactly how we play the game as a team.
Yeah, and it's let's talk about teams a little bit because both you and I are working with teams. I'm turning teams into top performers, just like you, right? And today it's really interesting out there, right? So currently, I'm really focused on the manufacturing sector. right? Doing some really big stuff there. But you've got like 5 generations of people working together.
Mm.
Okay. Like try to work that communication channel. Because it's like, I go to places, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because there's no standards. Okay. Like we're military. We get there, like standards, like how we live, right? That's how we operate because lives depend on it and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's the same thing on a factory floor. Okay. If you're not operating in standards, okay, where's the accountability? But today, what I've noticed, I'd love to get your feedback on there. It's like, I think, and I actually thought of this morning, Chris. Okay. I was thinking, just want to go, all this, I'm like, there's really no standards because people have this new saying, oh, my truth is my truth and your truth is your truth. And when they say stuff like that, I go, you're standardless. You believe in nothing. Okay. I mean, or maybe not quite nothing, but what I'm saying is like, well, how do you operate? How do you operate with others? If you all think, like, if you think a green light is red and I think a red is green, that's my truth. What's going to happen? Death. Okay. Calamity, right? So I just think about that this morning. So I'd love to kind of get your perspective since you're working with teams and working with these people. What are you seeing out there in that aspect?
Well, I mean, you're describing somebody who works at a crystal shop, and it's probably okay for everyone to have their truth, while moving amethyst. But let's say you're a little further up the food chain with responsibility, the size of your team, the revenue, the complexity of work that you do. If you're privately held and you get to decide, like, so my response to that, Richard, sounds like that's optional at that company, is what I'll say to the CEO. And he goes, what do you mean by that? I'm like, in what world is that a B answer? Like the way it works with EOS, being an EOS guy and understanding that's an operating system and it's highly effective. And I've taken, well over 100 companies through the process, and, 80% of them are award-winning, top 1%, super profitable, right people, right seats, waiting list to work there. So I know the system works, and I know a lot of people have that belief when they begin with me. So I see it too, but I quickly address that because that is actually the root issue that all these other issues that coaches like us work on. I like to go to the root and just say, listen, sounds optional. What do you mean? Well, why don't we do some really great work in creative vision? That is so awesome. The right people are going to see that and say, hell yeah, that's exactly what I want. And the wrong people also, I want the wrong people to look at that and say, oh, hell no, that looks like work. Like, that's not my truth. Okay. Right. So the way this works is opt in to this thing we worked really hard on. We're very proud of it. We hope you like it, but if you don't, that's okay. Good luck to you somewhere else. And if you have that mindset, you don't have to deal with those conversations. So what my point is, if you're going to be squishy and allow people to take your company and hijack it and make it their company without any investment, any equity, that's not how business works. But I've said this many times, companies are buses. They're not Ubers, but there's a certain, group of people that would like to hijack your bus. And if you let them do it, well, you can't be upset about not hitting the route at the right times or going to the wrong places or, losing people along the way, whatever that looks like. If you don't want to go where the bus is going, you need to get on a different bus because that bus is going on a route. So that's my advice, and that's how I handle it. This is how we're going to set it up. The right people are going to opt in. The right people are going to opt out. And my next statement is new people love the process. New people love whatever the other person didn't. So there's like 7 billion humans in the world. If you're only employing like 1,000 or less, I like your odds. You get to pick.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Chris, because too many owners, when I work with them too, they have this fear of replacement, meaning they're having to renew, and everyone struggles with retention. That's a huge thing, right? Trying to keep people. How long are they going to stay? What are we doing? Well, I guarantee you, just as you've just said, if you got set standards, you have operating systems, people know what to do. They know how to do it. They know what's expected of them. They know the consequences of not meeting these expectations. And you put those things in there, guess what? They like to work there. Today, it seems like that's all like evil or something. But like, no, you get to come and like do your job. You get to be great at it, and you get to go home. The entrepreneurs, almost, we got to keep thinking about this thing. Okay, you guys are like, come in, you kill it, you get done, you go home. I go, and you can do that, and it's like no one's bothering you. You're getting your work done. We put all this stuff in place so you can be successful on the daily. Who doesn't want to go and win every day? Like that's for my thing is like, how do we win on the day, the week, the month, the quarter, the year? When your people know that, okay, they're like, let's go win. It's like if you got two teams, football team, whatever, pick your sport, and one is just awful, and then they got like the best in business. Who's not real happy about playing? Okay, the guys are going to get crushed. They're going to go out, so they're kind of dejected before they even get on the field, right? It's a similar thing in the business, right? If you know you can go and win every day, and training's good, and it's an enjoyable process, and we get better because of it, man, that's where people stay, and that's where they bring the other good people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're thinking the exact same thing. So like unicorn retention strategies is how I do it. And like, it's crude to, compare humans to hoofed animals, but here I go anyways, right? Like a unicorn, right? They eat Skittles. They chase the rainbow. Like they do 5 times what an average burrow does, right? Now you're talking some of that jackass behavior. Those guys will chew on screws, bolts, nuts, leather, wood. They'll eat anything, right? And for guaranteed way to get rid of your unicorns is to stick a jackass and let them sit right next to them, a similar rate of pay. And this is offensive. And they look at management and are like, are you kidding me? You cheapen the experience for them. You make it less cool to be there, and off they go. And finding another unicorn, to all the reasons you listed, is difficult. So if we think about it, and the way I like to illustrate this is I take like a water balloon, and you put a little scotch tape on the bottom, right? And you pop it, right? So it doesn't just completely explode, but it leaks water out. First thing we do is we assess like, okay, well, who do you want to be? Like, who are you actually today? Okay, so there's some people that are on that vision right now, but they're being held back by some people that don't want to go there, the ones you're referring to. Mm-hmm. So we're going to drop those out. We're going to leak those out. We got to identify those. And we do that through art and science, right? Just your gut level feeling, your experience with them, some personality assessment, some scientific tools. We're going to test your top your top third, let's say, your middle third, and your bottom third. We're now, after we release the wrong people, sometimes my teams don't even rehire those people because the team goes faster without redoing their stuff or dealing with their bullshit, whatever you want to call it. So like, think about rowing. You need to row harder or you need to jump out of the boat. That's exactly how it works, right? Because the boat can go faster without 200 pounds in it, even if it has an empty oar. So now go back to my balloon, leaking the wrong people out. Okay, once they're out, or as they're actually dripping out, we are using those assessments, and we're only interviewing, we're only meeting, having the opportunity to speak with the people that have the correct wiring as the top third of our best people per position at the organization. So as we hire those people and put them in the top, eventually the bad ones are gone because, quite frankly, some of the ones in the middle, we're seeing the bad behavior and thought, well, if this is acceptable, I guess this is what we're going to do. We're going to Amazon at work. We're going to take 42 smoke breaks and whatever. It beats working for a living, whatever that bad attitude is, right? And as we put in these winners, some of those people are going to see that and say, ooh, I want to be that. And a certain percentage will migrate, and the other people, well, they're just going to come out of the bottom of the balloon, and then we're going to tape it up. And then in the future, we're only going to hire people that are dead ringers to the culture, right people, and in the right seats. Using EOS terminology, we call it GWC, get it, want it, capacity. So if you're culturally the right person and you're amazing at your work, we're going to call you right person, right seat. Once we curate the company to about 80%, you start to be able to execute on a regular basis. Once we curate that to about 90%, they will take the other 10% out. But even 20, 25% is enough of a foothold. So the big thing, this is like literally how we do it, is once we make the commitment that we want to be great, That means we're signing up for a handful of temporary pain, some difficult conversations, which really aren't that difficult looking back on them after they're happened. That's the feedback. Oh my God, I should have did that years ago. Yes, you should have. Right. And then all of a sudden we curate this award-winning team and work becomes fun. No profit sharing. So why don't we hire people at the 75th percentile of the pay scale and expect more from them? Here's an insight. An A player can do 2 to 3x of a C player, but you never pay a unicorn 2x, 3x. It's really rare. You're paying him 1.2, 1.4, maybe 1.65x, something like that. So there's a profit margin in having a petting zoo of unicorns, like a unicorn emporium just everywhere. And a small team of unicorns can run circles around a huge team of jackasses.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And it's not the lean philosophy, that kind of thing, you know. I just go into places and I just observe. I'm pretty quiet in the beginning and I'm just drawing targets. Okay. I'm going, okay, you're one. There's okay, I went to one place that had 50 people, you know, 2 shifts, and I'm like, okay, and they're unloading trucks. In 3 weeks, Chris, I eliminated 25 of the 50. Mm-hmm. Okay. Guess what? We then became number 1 in the country, okay, with half the equipment, half the people, knocked out the first place, you know, distribution center, had held that place for 3 years, that position, crushed them. My guys went from making $700-800 a week to making 25 to 3,500 a week because I got rid of those people. And they're like, I go, because I tell them that's, you know, that's your money. See that person? They're on like 1 truck a day. They're making like $85 a day. That's your $85. They go, yeah, you're right. I go, okay, I'll take care of it. And I just walk those people to the door. Okay, they start making money, and they're really good at what they do already. It's not hard to do more. They were being limited because they're into this. Who's got a pulse? You can work here, you know. And I'm like, I just changed all that in just a matter of a couple of months, and it's just skyrocketed everything. You know, it's that kind of attention to detail. That, again, back to that, you know, I don't have emotional attachment there. You know, I'm coming in, you can see fat everywhere. You go place, you can save companies, and you've probably done it too, millions in literally like hours or days. Because you could just go, what is this about? What is this here for? Explain this to me. And then when they have to actually articulate it and they hear themselves, they go, yeah, I don't know why we do that. Okay, well, we can change that. You know, we'll talk about it. And then we get this whole game plan. And next thing you know, it's millions, not at one time, not once, year upon year. So 5 years, 10 years. Oh, look at that. There's $30 million. I just a pure profit.
Because someone wasn't willing to hold the line on quality, or people just didn't understand it. So what you brought there, Richard, was just a different mindset, right? It's just they were operating feeling sad. Oh, the market's tough. People don't want to work anymore. No, not the people you're recruiting, not the people you're hiring. But that's not true for someone else that doesn't believe that. So back to our belief system, which is truly the largest limiting factor in anyone's life, the inner voice that says you're an imposter, that you say you can't do it. So like my advice is just to gag that one and give a microphone or a bullhorn to the positive voice that says you can do it. You can figure this out. You're strong. You're brave. People are looking at you. They need you and your methodology to be successful. And if they don't have the courage, or more likely, there's no infrastructure, there's no ecosystem to do that until somebody hires, you know, Richard Walsh, and he comes in and says 50 of them. Yeah, 25 are basically holding up the building, while the other 25 are hustling. And it's like a socialist environment. The good ones are paying for the bad ones, and that's not fun, right? To be a good one. Why don't I just join the bad ones? The pay is the same. The hours are the same. Well, the right people would never do that. It wouldn't sit right with them. That's not how they come up. That's not what makes them tick. My point is, if we can just find people that were raised right, that tick the way we tick, none of these issues are here to be solved. But if we don't have this mindset that not everybody gets to work here, the world's become overly inclusive, for a number of different reasons. We don't need to get in all those, but I'm not talking about like diversity, what you look like, who you like, where you're from. I'm talking about value diversity. Like if you don't care about what we care about, this is really weird for my people that really do care about that. You're kind of stealing from them, and that's not cool. My job as a leader, and I'll say it again, is to curate. All a company is a curation of humans. First, it comes with beliefs. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is why we do what we do. This is who we're going to do it with this. This is how much we're going to do it in 3 years, 1 year. These are our quarterly goals, and these are the things stopping us from success, our long-term issues. So once we write that down and we show that to people, and they're like, yeah, I want to do that too. Great. Come on in. Well, I could take that or leave that. All right. Nice talking to you. Don't call us. We'll call you. And then if you never even meet the people that don't have the wiring to fail, meaning some people are really great at interviewing, but
Yep.
they say the first 90 days of someone's employment is the best you'll ever see from them. And if that's a true statement, that's why I have my clients do an 80-day review. It's not a 90-day review because that could, land on the weekend, and then you don't have the benefit of a little slop in the project manager account, the 10 days that I put in there. So the 80-day plan is on the 80th day, knowing what you now, no, I can't talk today. Knowing what you now know, you would then look at that 80 days of performance, and it should be obvious. Yeah, this was a great hire. Yeah, this was an okay hire, or this was a bad. Well, if it was a bad hire, they shouldn't be there by 80 days. That's your failure as a leader. And if it's an okay hire and you have other candidates that appear to be stronger than okay, that one's got to go. And the reason for this is a lot of states are at will. Many have a probationary period. So check with your state. Don't take employment legal advice from me for sure. Talk to your HR person and look what the rules are. So first rule, follow the rules. And then if they do have a probationary period, your unemployment insurance isn't going to get hit. There's not a big legal thing. You could just say it's not a fit. They can say for any reason. You can say there's no notice. If you have your employment contract that kind of says that, and you say, hey, this is probationary. This is the key. You got to call it a probation because it's not a full employment, it's probationary employment. So if on that 80-day, usually like, I don't think it's a good fit. We're going to wish you well. Here's a couple of weeks severance, and you've only been here a short time. Go find your people. We're clearly not it. And you've got your data points, and this shouldn't be a surprise because if you keep the expectations clear and people shake your hand and agree with you, they will just quit when they aren't willing to do those things. If you've never explicitly shook somebody's hand and said, I expect this, do you agree? Then people are just doing, what did you say? They're living their own truth. And in their mind, you're the problem. So like, I just think it's a conversation. It's a mindset. It's a decision from the top. And then we need to empower leaders to say, listen, we got a freebie for the first 80 days. It's probationary. So if you're like, we're also going to tell the manager, we're going to track how many of these people are here in a year and 2 years and what their performance is. And one of your numbers is how good you are at picking people. When you say yes to the 80 days, I want to retain this one. How does that going to turn out? If a manager actually knew they were being measured and their bonus was being calculated on their ability to pick the right people in the right seats, that's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it's really important. I was speaking with an individual. We were talking about the probationary period itself, and she had a good point. She goes, "Oh, if you have to have a probationary period, you've already made a bad hire." She goes, it's just a bad hire, and she goes, and I agree with her on this. All the unemployment garbage, who cares? You know what it's cost you to keep a piece of trash on the team? Way more than a little bit of an increase in your unemployment insurance, which is going to fluctuate anyways. People are going to come and go and do their thing. So I'm with you on that. I love the 80-day thing because you do know, right? And most people, if you can, so I kind of load the front end, the hiring process. So I really create a really, really good hiring process because here's how I think, Chris. I'm like, you have to earn the right to work here. Okay. You don't just get to walk in because you're breathing. You got what I call the sheet of lies. You have a good resume. Okay. So look at that. I go, I get it. It's a starting point, but what you really are. So when you're coming in, so I want you're going to jump through the hoops. So when you do start on day one, you've earned that position. You're keyed up. You know what it took. Man, these people have a process, right? I had to read this, and then I had a 5 minute call. Then I did this, and there was two people in there. Then I finally met the owner after they hired me. I never even got to talk to him, or her or whatever. So now they're like, man, I'm in, right? So it's a lot of people don't want to do that, Chris, because it's a longer process and they need bodies. I get it. But when you do that, your retention rates go way up. Again, they have to be put into a system that's functioning. It's got the standards, got the operating systems, it's got everything it needs. But, so there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, right? But that, what I found over all these years, is one of the things that really, really, really increases the retention aspect, because we attach an ROI to that, right? When do we break even? When are we making money with this hire? When did they truly become an asset? It's not in 30 days. It's not in 90 days. Okay. It's going to be 8 months, 12 months, 18 months, and now I'm talking about that's when they leave. Okay. So if I'm like, well, if I get 2 years, I got 12 months, of an asset working for me. I've got an ROI I can quantify because of the time in the game. Right. So a lot of different ways to look at it. And we're both on the same page with this. I love trying to I just think so many people, and you've probably seen this too, Chris, just they first, they have a really poor hiring system, really, really bad. Okay. And then they're what I call coaching now during the process with shift leads and everyone else. When they're not able to coach people, they think they're just in charge. They don't understand that's not the game we're playing here. You're a coach now. You're not a player. You're a coach. You might be a shift lead or above that. How are you coaching these people? No one's trying to get rid of their star player, right? They're trying to make them even better. So it's a different kind of mindset. I don't know if you run into that kind of stuff, but I've seen that quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's just, if you're going to promote someone and it's not explicit what their new role is and what success looks like, that's the failure, right? That's a middle manager, that's an executive's failure, and ultimately the owner's failure. So slow to hire and quick to fire is the rule to any elite unit or team or anything that's, takes 20 years to build a great reputation. And, it takes about 5 minutes to lose it in the modern day. So I think these are all really good concepts. And at the end of the day, if you fail fast, is my point with the 80 days, it's not just the unemployment insurance, it's also the legal risk. Because let's say someone has a certain protected class, or they have 5 of them, or I'm just illustrating. I meet people like, oh yeah, I can't fire that person because of this reason. Well, actually, no. It doesn't mean just because you have some protective class, it means you're untouchable. It means you don't have any documentation. This person's been horrible for years, and you've been even further horrible by not documenting it. So, like, this is your own bed. Now sleep in it. This is horrible. But you don't have to do that. If you fail fast with people, and it's common, hey, did so-and-so, your probation's coming up? Well, I hope you make it. We really like you. And part of it is asking the squad, the team, hey, what do you think? We got so-and-so's 80-day coming up. Just your thoughts, and just asking people. And if you might have some preconceived notions, maybe they're quiet, maybe they don't engage, but they're hard workers. The team appreciates them. They're low drama. Hey, that's a good teammate. Considering these last 5 people you hired, this one is starting to look really good right now. It's a perspective thing. My point is anyone can fake who to be someone else for an interview or even a day or two at work. But no one can fake a week, no one can fake a month, and no one can fake 80 days. So this is our process, and we tell people about half the people we hire, we don't continue with. And that's just kind of something up front. We put that right in the hiring process. And we say, hey, we're not going to pick you up on the option. Thank you. Here's some severance. There's that. We don't have to go kinetic. It doesn't have to be a legal thing, and it doesn't matter, if they're quadruple protected or whatever the high level excuse is to cause people to be overly fearful to manage. And once we have that environment and that's the way we play the game, guess what? Maybe it goes to with better hiring and better personality assessments and, fishing with the right lure in the right pond. And this is all process that we have to take accountability for. This is your hiring process. If it sucks, you have to fix it, because quite frankly, like I said before, all a company is a curation of humans. Like, how curated are we? Like, hey, you come here. Mirror, fog. All right, come on in. That's not a curation, right? That is a low bar that you could hopscotch over. You want to be kind of an obstacle course to get to your company, and then to your point, in order to keep things classy, just because someone was employee of the quarter last quarter, there's no indicator they're going to win or have that same level of effort 2 quarters from now. We're humans. We're all perfectly imperfect. So back to the main point, just say these are the rules at this company. It might be different than your last company. If that doesn't work for you, don't apply here. I like to put these things up in the ads. I like to message that we are not your average company. I think you should write an ad with 3 paragraphs. First paragraph talks about them. Let me describe you. Have you ever found the winner's circle, been in the top 20% of anything 3 times in your life? Do you get offended by stupid people at the office? Are you annoyed by lazy people? Do people say you care too much? These are just little ideas on top of my head, right? And then if so, continue on. You might be a fit here. If I haven't nailed you to a T, go look at another ad. Like, don't waste your time or ours. Good luck to you, ma'am or sir. Then you go to the second paragraph and you talk about a day, a week, a month, a year in the job, not the brochure, right? The garden view means the dumpster in Mexico, just so you understand. It's oceanfront or garden view, which is parking lot, the dumpster, the back of the kitchen, something like that. Not in the brochure. So I want you to create a brochure that's accurate. This is the kind of work we do. This is who we do it with. This is how much of it we do. These are the new people do this much of it. The mid-level people do this much, and the unicorns are up here. And then if that sounds like something you'd want to do for a week, a month, a year, then keep going. We might have something here. If that doesn't fit your requirements, go look at another ad. Then we get to the third paragraph. And that third paragraph talks about the company, the culture, how we operate. They can already tell you're different from the first 3 paragraphs. And then I say, this is the kind of company you would love to work for. And we're here to make you as much money as possible through profit sharing, bonuses, phantom stock options, whatever. The unicorns don't leave. We have the best Skittles. We also have like a 200-foot high electrified unicorn fence, which is step 5 of the operation. I'm getting ahead of myself here, Richard. But you see where I'm going with this? And then once you create that environment, it's going to take you a year or 2. In your case, however long that took you, 3 months, 6 months to clear that out. It might have been a little faster of a Band-Aid removal, but most organizations need a year to swap out the terrorists and enable the activists. And identifying them is actually not a hard thing. Backfilling, recruiting them is the issue. So undercapitalized recruiting is one of the number one issues I see in business. You are paying for a great recruiting and retention system through being bad at recruiting and retention, meaning you're leaking money all over your company, profits to your point, and losing unicorns. We can never really build a great company because there's no environments for the unicorns to gather en masse. So that we're both saying the same thing, right? We both have our different ways of saying it, but I think we're in violent agreement on this one.
Yeah, it's really, and I am completely, we're doing the same thing, right? There is never one way, thankfully, because it doesn't work because you're dealing with people. And every company's going to have their idiosyncrasies. They're going to have their ways. They're going to have their vision. That's all good. We need that, right? It's like you're saying, how do you present that? That's the key. You just described an incredible way to present who you're looking for, how they're going to do what they do, and what this company and the culture is actually about. Now, let's talk about culture, because that's one of those buzzwords. After a while, you kind of hear, oh, you got to fix your culture. And then they walk away and they have no clue how to do that. I go, fix my culture. Okay. Well, why don't you clue me in on how that works? Okay. Now we know how. Okay. We get what it is. And I'm telling you, it starts with simple things like standards. Okay. It's like rules, expectations, and consequences. I go, that's how you begin to create a culture. Because if everybody doesn't have one operating system, for lack of a better term, to adhere to, how can you have any expectation for victory? And competition and advancement when it's all subjective. I am not a fan of subjective. Okay. I get there's an element when you said art, there is an art to a lot of this stuff, right? And that's human intuition, that's experience, right? We've seen traits, We all get that gut feeling, and all my clients, all my owners, I kind of got a bad gut feeling. I go, then go with it. Okay, what's next? I go, because if you're feeling it, you go with it. Okay, you're almost never wrong on that. That is one of those things, like, you got to learn to trust that. Because I go, well, last time you didn't trust it, what happened? Oh yeah, it was a disaster. Okay, so, like, that's one of those. I love it when they have a gut feeling, because I can just palm around them. Let's go with that.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. That's a very true statement. And and yeah, like at the end of the day, some data plus the gut feeling is what I coach. Like, I want your gut feeling. Now let's get some data to support that. If all you have is data and all you have is gut feelings, that's where you get in trouble. When the two collide and provide a holistic assessment, that's where you're going to be making good decisions.
Yeah, a lot of power in that. The data aspect is really, and people. So today, people know more about data than ever because of social media. Okay. Oh, it's free. Oh no, it's not. They're stealing everything you got. They know what movies, they know how many times you go to the bathroom every day. They know everything about you, okay? And they're monetizing it. Okay, they monetize it all. Well, okay, I have a business, I have these people working for me. I should be collecting data. What's working, what's not working, why are they showing up late, why are they doing this, why, no matter what we do, we can't increase the efficiency on this. You start to look at that and get the inputs, and now you disseminate that, and now you can make predictive statements, you can forecast things, you can make the right changes, because you're pulling in information from all over the floor, right? And that's what people have kind of lacked. Well, I just walk it once in a while and look. Well, observing's good. That's only one little piece of, yeah. It just, the wind's blowing this way because they left the door open. Okay, it has nothing to do with their operation. So I love that aspect. So I'm a big fan of the data aspect, right? And combining the gut, of course. But when you've got that, man, your decisions are so much more sound. Like I said in the beginning, like my first 20 years in business, data. I'm just not making money. That's my data. Okay, I'm getting more and more. They do. I wasn't concerned about any of the other stuff, which really could have helped save my business by 08, 09, because I didn't have all these things in place, right? So I got to take the big hit and lose everything, But when you look back now, when we talk like you and I are talking here, it's like there's so many tools. There's so many tools and methods to be unbelievably successful, but you got to go to the right people, right? You got to find the tools. You can't, you go to Home Depot and you're looking at tools, and what do you got? DeWalt, you got Husky, you got Makita. Like, everyone's got their, well, which tool? I'm not going by the brand. I'm going by the tool, right? So which tool can I apply to this specific thing I have to do? And once you get the right tools, that's when things start to happen, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you could take, I don't know, a plasma torch. When I think about construction tools, the plasma torch isn't something you give to the apprentice.
No.
Because they could be cutting through the only structural member supporting the roof above us while we're watching the rookie kill us all. Versus, you could have the best tool in the world. So I like to joke, or tell stories as you do, right? Because it helps people understand when you speak in analogies and visualizations and stuff. It's just easy to communicate that way. A a carpenter, a master carpenter, can take old, shitty, rusty tools and make beautiful things with it. A kid right out of carpentry school could have the latest DeWalt 10 5000 power saw, and like the laser level guided, quick release, brand new stuff, and everything is going to look like shit. It's not going to be plumb. It's not going to be level. It's not going to be square. So, like, the operator, I like to focus on the carpenter, the mindset of the carpenter, and that's what we're talking about here. The tools are important, but not more important than the carpenter's mindset and the experience and the skill and how we teach people how to build beautiful things. Not cheap plastic things from China, but beautiful handmade things here in America, right? So like that is the philosophy. And then once we understand it's about the carpenters, and we're only interviewing people that want to make beautiful things. So if you just solve the issue right at the front, you don't have to have all these other conversations. Then we could find another topic, and then we say, okay, what's the root issue of that? Let's go to that. So the big aha is just hit everything at the root. And then you don't have to deal with the 400 issues that spurt out all over the place downstream. So symptoms, you solve them, they're the same ones. There's 136 problems in business. and we're good at solving maybe 20 or 30 of them because they're on speed dial, they're on redirect. We're always doing it, always doing it. So if somebody's like, well, hey, if we just went all the way up here and made a decision, maybe spent a little bit of money, maybe went through some temporary pain and suffering to have long-term, feeling great and unencumbered and ready to scale, you're going to pay. It's painful business. It's hard, right? Getting humans to do stuff, hard stuff. In many cases, if it wasn't hard, then there wouldn't be a need for your business. People could just do it themselves. So you have to kind of embrace the complexity and then solve it for the end user, but in a way that we could scale it without losing that experience, that volume. And the only way to do that really is to solve all your issues at the root. That's why having a business operating system, if you don't have a system and you're just kind of making it up and you're over a couple million a year in sales, like you're playing with fire.
Yeah, it's you're so right. And that's what it is. It's the tactical and the strategic. That's what I call it. So you're firefighting, all that things that flare up, that's all your tactical. They run in your office, you got to go out, you put the fire out. Okay, good, go back to your work, and a week later it flares up again because you left a glowing ember, which is you didn't create the why did this happen and fix that. Go back, do we need to create a system? Oh, this started 3 weeks ago. This problem started 3 weeks ago. Okay, someone's back there with the flint, the flint and steel, just trying to get a spark, trying to get something light on fire, and no one was paying attention.
Yeah, and I'm saying build with concrete, not with wood.
Right.
And that way, even the arsonists can't be successful. So think even like more root.
Right.
This is, as coaches, as we talk through this, right? And you're solving these issues, you can choose where to solve it. The further closest to the problem you solve it, usually the easier the solve is, but it's also usually the more temporary the solve is. The further up you trace it back, burn it with fire, cover it with concrete. Yeah, it's not coming back, that weed.
Yeah, I say, okay, are we gonna start with the lazy solution? Because that's what most people do. We're humans. It's our default. Lazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
comfortable.
So I stomped on it a couple times. It looks like it's off. It's still smoldering, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, that's the lazy solution. Yeah, there's times when I had an uncle. Okay, he was a mechanic, worked for my father. We were in the golf course business. He was, I don't know if MacGyver was out then, but he was a MacGyver. The bubblegum tissue, tinfoil. You come in like the mower's not working. He'd fix it like in a heartbeat so you can get out and finish mowing the greens for the day. But he'd never fix the machine. So every day it was another bubblegum wrapper. Okay. It was another, wired thing, this. I'm like, dude, do you ever fix anything all the way? It's like, and I'm some punk kid like 14 years old. I'm like, I just want to go mow, 9 greens in a row without coming back here. I'm not asking for much. I actually like
work. It's a simple ask. Can we just maybe order the $14 part? Can we grit our teeth and just get that done?
And it was literally like him. It wasn't like my dad's running the whole. She's like, whatever you need, I'll get you whatever you need. But no, we're good. No, we're not good. This isn't fixed. So it's that kind of stuff. We see it all the time, right? We go to these companies and people get in the hamster wheel. They're part of the day to day, or they're working on this, and it's the 9 hats and that whole kind of deal. So everything has to be temporary because they don't have the bandwidth to go find out what the root of the problem was, like you're saying. I think that's a lot of the issue, and that's why it's awesome when they bring in coaches like you and I. People can come in, just those outside eyes that see it in a heartbeat. Like you walk in and you go, I smell smoke.
Yeah. They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we got smoke detectors everywhere. Well, right. The batteries are dead. Trust me, I'm smelling it too.
So it's that kind of thing that is I do these podcasts and we talk about business, or I'm working with clients, or I'm speaking somewhere. I'm trying to do what we were talking about earlier, mindset. You guys got to start thinking different. And I tried to hold back, telling them that they're the biggest problem. Okay, I go, I'll get to you. Okay, I'm gonna go fix some other stuff in business, but we're all our biggest problem. We're all the biggest stumbling block we have. And most of that's up here between the ears, right? It really is just our thought process and how we do it. That's why in the beginning we were talking about that ability to ask for help, look for others, get that wise counsel, right? This is where it pays off. and it pays off in dollars. It pays off in time. I mean, you're in business. I always tell people, did you get in business to be a slave to it? You serving it, or is it serving you? Like, let's just think about that. Like, who's in charge here? The business, which I also nickname your mistress, okay, because she's always calling. She always wants to see you, always wants you to be close, wants you to be thinking about her when she's gone, when you're gone, right? That's a business if you don't run it right.
Yeah. Are you running your business or is it running you? Right. That's
Yeah.
a actual title to our EOS talk that we give, because like at one point you were in control, but that point is not today. That's pretty clearly you become a passenger, swept up. So that goes back to my overly inclusive stuff. Meaning if, not just like your belief system, what's important to you, your work style, your expertise, your willingness to be a good teammate, you work well with others, yeah, like I want people, if their number's red, I want to see that red number on their face. I want to see them carrying a little weight. I'll give that person a little extra time to get there. That's what I'm looking for. If I see someone walk into the room and their numbers aren't good and they're the happiest person I ever meet, that one's got to go. This one doesn't
Yeah.
even understand that they're causing this failure. And it really comes into like the whose decision is it? Make the decision. And whatever uncomfortableness you're feeling right now, I assure you, it is tiny, compared to what this looks like another year, 2 years down the road at scale. If you don't fix your problems, you just continue to grow or throw money, you end up growing your top line significantly, but your bottom line
Yep.
also significantly goes the other way. Then you find yourself in a position where you're taking a lot of risk. The bank doesn't want to give you money because you're missing covenants, you're missing numbers. And this is all because you failed to just say, this is what it is, opt in or opt out. And again, all this stuff sounds fairly hard line, but at the end of the day, we do this to protect our unicorns, our good people. And there's usually way more good ones than there are bad ones, unless you're in a 50-50 scenario. And that's not uncommon at certain levels. And sounded like on the factory floor, that is certainly going to be a higher turnover position just because you can't pay people 100 grand to stamp things on an assembly line. That's just not how business works. At the same time, your culture, which cult is the root word of culture, I'll remind you. And the highest form of culture, right, is 100 people drinking poison Kool-Aid all at once.
That's
Now,
right.
I'm not saying we should be a cult. I'm saying we should aspire to curate a team of people that are willing to be uncomfortable personally for the benefit of the team, right? You're an ex-Marine. I was an Army National Guardsman. You enlist for years. So the commitment is pretty well solidified in the military. These civilians can come and go as they please. They can take 3 jobs a year if they want to. So how do we retain people? We don't make them do stupid shit, and we don't surround them with stupid things or TPS reports or things that don't make sense. We put the right person in the right seat and they tell us what to do. And the other thing is back to collaboration over collaboration. You want to make a horrible decision? Ask your entire team what you should do, because consensus management is not. Going back to my founder, here's my data, here's my gut. I'm making the call. You can always pivot. You can always, turn the boat around if you have to. But if your ego won't allow you to do that, okay, there's the issue. Your ego is writing checks that your body or your business can't cash, and we can solve that issue as well.
Yeah, spot on, Chris. It's really an interesting leadership in general, right? So I mean, there's just vacuous void of quality leadership. I talk about some of the younger generations and older. It doesn't matter really what they are, but what I'm seeing on the floors out there is these, and I'm just going to air quote young people, so that they're sort of long range. Okay, I'm older now, so everybody's younger. Everybody's young people. But I tell them, like, man, you guys couldn't lead me to lunch. Like there's this, and here's the problem, and you've probably seen this too, is you get a guy who's a great worker and they promote him to be a supervisor. He doesn't really want to be, but he likes the money, but they don't train him to be one.
Yeah.
He has no idea. And now he hates his job. You took a guy who loved it, was performing, doing great, going home, and now he's got to run a bunch of goofs for because there's no training, there's no real standards, and all this stuff. He got thrown into just a big hot mess, and he's supposed to figure it out, right?
Mm.
And then they wonder why they fail and leave, and that's when the company's losing money. You talk
Yeah,
about a profit leak. Wow.
yeah, that's a good point. Everyone that example usually shows up, Richard, as don't take your number one salesperson and make him the sales manager. That's the number one time that
Amen.
happens, and it almost never works. It's like an
Yeah.
80-20, 80 fail, 20 it works. So taking that to like an operations or a finance or someone not that's in sales, you're absolutely right. I don't think about it that way, but you're right. The next role shouldn't have to be leading, managing, and holding other people accountable. Not everybody is cut out or really has the capacity, the mental horsepower to do that work, or they don't want it. To your example, like exactly. So now you had somebody that was a shining example. Well, maybe if they were good at it, maybe you just made them the trainer. Hey, why don't you shadow so and so Bob for 2 hours today? Bob's the machine. Bob puts out 40% more than anybody else with no quality defects. Be like Bob. So I'm gonna show you Bob for a day or a number of hours. That is what success looks like at this position. And if you have any questions about that, but also you're going to watch Bob be productive. Bob's not going to hire you. Bob's not going to fire you. That's not Bob's deal. So I have a manager, and the manager, this is why anyone listening should really think about hiring veterans for your middle managers, your sergeants. Nobody understands this better than someone who has spent years in a huge organization that gives amazing leadership, but more frequently, the worst leadership possible. The military is full of horseshit leaders, and I would argue, these aren't just officer jokes that all enlisted tell, but there's way more examples of you respecting the rank, not the man or the woman, versus that's a leader I'd take a round for. Like,
Yeah.
tell me when to be there, and I'll be there for you because you were there for me. And the way this leader operates, I don't care where we're going, what we're doing. I know we're going to be okay because this one gets it. This one, when you see them coming, everyone hides. Like, what leader are you? And the leaders that people want to be led by are the ones that have the team's best interest at heart and are not afraid putting anyone on the bench for any sort of a mission, operation, workflow, whatever you want to call it, if that's what's right for the team. And if you don't have the salt, you don't have the courage to do that, or you don't have the systems or the budget to recruit. I'm going back to my root issues. Like understanding that once you curate a team of 90% right people, right seats, they'll clear out the last 10 for you. However, maintaining that level of world-class company, that's work too, because you start to get cocky once you start making that money, and then turnover starts to click back up. And, I've had people graduate my program 2 or 3 years later. I get an email or I get a phone call. Wow, we need a booster shot like you wouldn't believe. We need probably another 6 months or a year you just to get back. Like we you know what I mean? You hire a personal trainer, you see your abs for the first time in 20 years, and then it's holiday season and you're just smashing, holiday buffets for the next month. And you're like, hey, what happened? Like, yeah, whatever. I lost my focus. I lost my discipline. I get it. We're humans. We're all perfectly imperfect, but really great conversation around you get to decide and don't be a victim. Like back to what I was saying before, it's like, listen, the reason why we do this is just to make sure everybody's cool that's on the A team. You're one of us. I'm going to look out for you. We shouldn't be subjecting our best people to outside influences that are negative, like untrained people, people with bad attitudes. That's leadership's failure. So back to your point, leadership is woefully inadequate. I agree. I appreciate that creates a tremendous opportunity for people like us
Right.
because there's endless amounts of work out there. It's just a matter of the right people finding us. And obviously this podcast is probably a great vehicle for that, to stretch people's mind, get people thinking, and call people out. There's people listening to this going, oh man, I'm all those 4 or 5 bad things. I'm doing, all 4 or 5 of those. And it's okay. I'm guessing you did those things before, Richard. You said you did, right? You
Yep.
you had some macro level forces, but you've also taken accountability that your systems weren't strong enough to handle the tsunami that was the economic slowdown in 08, 09. I started a company at the exact same time and scaled it to several $million while everyone in my space was going out of business because I went at it a different way. I found people that were passionate. So real quick, it's an energy efficient remodeling company. So like, how do I get people who are going to knock on doors in the winter, in a recession, at night in Minnesota where it's cold? Well, how about you find some Greenpeace folks that are in the off season and you say, hey, my construction products save like 62% more energy than all the name brands. Like, what's greener than being more efficient? They're like, you know what, you're right. So I got an entire street team from Greenpeace to go out and knock doors and get leads when there weren't any leads. So I launched an energy efficient construction company in, 09. And by 11, it was doing did several $million in sales the first year. And then a couple of years later, I sell it for a very nice exit. And they're like, what's going on here? Well, I got a huge multiple because the systems that I did were going against the herd. The herd was dying under the old rules. I found passionate people that were willing to go be uncomfortable and experience some discomfort because it wasn't just, and I paid like 8% of the contract, which is crazy to pay a door knocker 8% of the sale. So a $20,000 deal, there's like $1,600 check for a young person. But how fun was it for me to hand out those large checks to those people? They earned every dollar. Without them, we wouldn't have the opportunity to demonstrate our products, get people to see this is a superior solution with a tax credit. That was one of the secret ingredients. If you had a certain level of efficiency, you got $1,500 off. So who would want to take $1,500 off a project you had to do anyways, that you got a increased ROI on your investment due to energy savings? So now I'm saving money on energy, I'm saving money on tax credits, and I'm getting something with all the warranties. This is a great deal. So like that's the whole point with being an entrepreneur. I could have just said, oh, I'm going to be like everybody else. And that would have been a very short ride for me because people that had been around for generations were going out of business because that tsunami that you're referring to was so big. Like, you had to be stronger than death to be able to survive that. And to be able to thrive during that same time. Plenty of interviews back in the day. And how'd you do this? I just found people that believed in something bigger than just the job, just the money. No, don't get me wrong. Got to treat them right. Got to pay them well. But it's got to be bigger than what you're asking them to do. And when you find people that have that level of commitment and you curate enough of them, you're going to be good to go no matter what you do, whatever space you're in. That's all your company is, the curation of humans. How well have you curated your team? That's the big question for today.
Yeah, for sure, Chris. I mean, it really is. And we could do a whole nother episode on money and what makes an attractive company. We've hit on a lot of good points here today, but there's a whole episode in just that. I mean, we could go on for hours.
I'll come back at a later date and we can do it.
Yeah, part 2, it'll be awesome because there is so much to us. And I know everyone listening today, you got a jam-packed hour of stuff you're not going to get probably from a textbook, okay, or your business school or whatever. Okay, this is real world stuff. We've seen it, we've done it, right? We go through this and a lot of practical application in everything we're talking about today. So just on that alone, Chris, thanks for being on the show. And just, man, you delivered some great stuff. I love it. For everybody else, why don't you give away how do you get in touch with you? What are you doing? How they can be a part of it? Let's create some excitement. Yeah.
So there's 3 things I'm into, like most entrepreneurs. Focus is for everyone else. The cobbler's son has no shoes. I teach focus, but the 3 things that I do, and they're all actually super relevant. The entrepreneurial operating system, EOS. So I'm an expert EOS implementer. I've done that for over a decade. It's a wonderful system. So people in EOS, I can be contacted, Chris.Halberg at EOS Worldwide. My Business Sergeant website, BIZSGT, that's where my online leadership academy is. It's a 5.5-hour course. A lot of the stuff I talked about today is in there, some tools, some process. It's just a mindset, like being a business sergeant, right, is just having that systems and hoorah and commitment and taking that in the civilian business world. So we could all have a little bit of that. If people enjoyed like the flavor of today's conversation, you're a Marine, I'm a dog face in the Army. So this is what ex-military people in business that are coaches operate like. So if this is like what you want, that business sergeant thing is that. And then the third thing, the most recent thing, what I'm really excited about is my new agentic AI business operating system platform called Go Expand. And you can just go to goexpand.com, and that is a software tool to keep all these things together. That's the glue. The kids these days, the young people, as you say, Richard, they're on the device, and I am too, more than I'd like to be. But rather than being in 5 or 6 different human performance apps, I've made some observations over the years. All my top teams, these best place to work teams, the really profitable waiting list to work there, low turnover, high employee engagement companies, they ask questions, pulse surveys, there's dashboards. You have to visually represent. You are here, you need to be up and to the right, not down and to the left. These are the exact things. And then I can see your little dot. So I've simplified it. You said it early in the episode, Richard. The subjectivity is killing us. So I'm replacing the subjectivity in business and operating system installations, and I'm replacing with objectivity. So objective, green is good, red is bad. So goexpand.com, it's a game changer. Plus you got the AI agent. Once you get all your process, you don't need long 40-page process books. You need 1-pagers for everything. And then you put it in the AI brain, and then people ask it, and 15 seconds later, without disturbing a single soul, they get the answer and they're off doing their thing. That's like making another work day at mass over the year. So if you have the right mindset, you have a good operating system, and you have a tool to keep it glued together, that's what you need. So that's why I'm doing those 3 things, because those are the 3 things entrepreneurs need to actually get to the finish line with consistency and scalability.
I love it, Chris. I love it. I love that kind of stuff, man. It's powerful tools, mindset, put all this stuff together, and that's how you change your game at work with your business. And we all need more of that. Again, I knew this would be a great conversation, and it was. And part 2 will be even better, because how can we not just be better? It's just our nature.
Well, we should be smarter 6 months or a year from now. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully no one's really paying attention, so we can just pretend we are, but we could be. We could be. We will be. We will be. So, Chris, thank you again for all the time today. It's been fantastic. Love the conversation. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.